I understand it seems like a very contradictory thing to say, that a 7 out of 10 game equates to being the worst fucking thing in existence. Don't get me wrong, there's a place for 7 out of 10 games. Sometimes I like to log into a brain-dead game such as Battlefield 5 and just switch off my consciousness for a couple of minutes. Drop the headphones and just not think for a second. Or even hear what PussySlayer_XX has to say to me. Or even care about a story, nothing like that. But I think there's an undeniable difference between an indie game, where a couple of coffees and some paper clips might overdraft the overall studio's budget, to a multi-million-dollar video game developer who at this point expand more than the German Empire. And sometimes they're eviler too. Isn't that right, EA? Shit. We allow clunkiness in games like Car Mechanic Simulator 2021, which I've been having a blast, but the whole premise is around one of the most frustrating activities known to man. A game that can be summarized to a very much bare bones experience of just unscrewing and placing things back together. It's very linear, but the game knows what it's supposed to do. It doesn't try to bullshit anyone. You see where the budget went, you know? Like, if they told you, oh, this game costs $1,000, yeah, I can see that, but it's not a problem. At this scale, we don't expect a story at all. We don't expect great graphics for a 7 out of 10 in this regard. We just expect what it says in the title, which is a simulator. Indie developers simply cannot get away with a 7 out of 10 rating for their games with at the very least a guaranteed amount of effort or merit. So why are we allowing AAA game companies to get away with worse when they have more? I mean, what's up with games like Star Wars Outlaws? How goddamn oblivious do you have to be to expect this game to receive a strong positive community sentiment? As if first and foremost we're not talking about the Star Wars community. You do know that, right? Like, we're never happy about anything. But on top of that, you can't even animate facial expressions properly. Not even have an actual diversity in weaponry that we can actually own, just grab and lose it because you need to climb a ladder. Jesus Christ, what is this, 2005? I can live without lightsabers, okay? Not every single Star Wars game has to do with space knights, I understand that. But good lord, give me something. Something more than just a blaster, I suppose. At least a story truly worthy of listening to. I wouldn't even play this shit with a split screen of Family Guy playing in the bottom. I wouldn't give two craps about it. You have 20,000 employees available to get into this project, a Star Wars project, and this is what we get. The very first red flag is, you guys are Ubisoft, the company who is infamously known to be the least self-aware bunch of assholes in the industry right now, who believe a game such as Skull and Bones is the world's first quadruple A game. Get the fuck out of here. I mean, Jesus almighty, is this truly your most expensive game to advertise, Ubisoft? A franchise which has represented male virginity for a whole 40 years. How did you spend so much in advertisement for this instead of actual development? What advertisement did you even have to do? Even our parents know that this burned Pop-Tart looking dude is this guy's father, okay? A Star Wars title sells pretty much for itself. So how did this fail so hard? This is when I realized there is a curse, a modern practice of AAA game developers. You see, breaking through the jungle and the bushes of dullness, it requires a specific kind of machete for video game companies. Now, this specific type of machete is called creativity, and has a terrible curse spelled upon it. AAA game studios are incredibly allergic to it. It's too damn costly and hard to get it, especially when they see new and creative ideas like Starfield flopping so hard. So what do our filthy rich game developers do instead? Well, they use the path that has already been paved. In my stupid little analogy that I just created, this means the use of fan-worshipped IPs, intellectual property if you don't know. In their minds, they can bypass the usual initial process of video game development, the hook, or the premise. The reason why I would even pick up this stupid-ass game that apparently is worth a maximum value of $130 fucking dollars. I better get some sloppy toppy with that, dude. This is where they kick up their feet and use something which already has a fan base for. They slap that bad boy of a title and expect the fans to eat it up. But this is a reflection of how video game developers think of video game development nowadays. I mean, as we gamers, are we truly expecting unrealistic things from new titles, their new releases? Did Starfield really flop because Bethesda was trying to do something new of itself? And another question that I ask is, does my cynical tone already give you the answer? So I think this is where the meat of the issue is, right? In my humble opinion as a no-life YouTuber, I believe this is a situation of AAA game developers misdiagnosing the problem. People are not scared of trying new things. Certainly people are not whining just for no reason, as some video game developers would like to make you believe. This might be a crazy thought, I don't know, but maybe it's because you guys keep making the same game structure, the same game feel, the same game design, but with different premises? Maybe you shouldn't look at Starfield as an example that people do not want new stuff. Because the whole premise of being able to explore in space, build outposts, have epic space dogfights, it sounds like a wet dream for every sci-fi gamer out there. Are you serious? But we're not gonna buy something. Simply, we're not gonna buy something that's broken and or unrealized in its full potential. Gamers are not gonna do charity to you. The concept of Starfield is not the reason why, some pitiful 5,000 souls are playing that shit on Steam. That's not the reason. It's because it's a shame of an execution, not blending. You guys at Ubisoft do think of something original, or at the very least you always pick up something which is already original with a fan base. And that's fine. But for some stupid ass reason, you try to fit the same game model that you apply to every single game you designed before. I was personally someone that got really hooked into Ghost Recon Breakpoint or Wildlands. I just unintentionally showed you how close and similar these fucking games are. But it was one of those two. I think it was Breakpoint and the Division for a while. I liked playing those games, and games that are usually regarded as 7 out of 10 games, okay? And let's admit one thing, okay? The premises Ubisoft can come up with can actually be pretty good. The same way Star Wars is a good premise, but Ubisoft's ability to make every single game they make feel like every single other game they make makes the whole purpose to play these games redundant. Just buy a Ghost Recon Breakpoint and you'll have pretty much the same experience as The Division. Hell, don't get me started with Assassin's Creed series. There were some games that did behave as a turning point for the franchise, that is true, but for the longest run they have been the same every single time. Just a reskin of the same experience last year. Kind of like FIFA, but with blades. And I think the reason why so many people always get so upset at Ubisoft, myself included, I guess, is because there's certainly some potential in these studios. I mean, you had to at least have one guy animating those Watchdog Legion's gun-fu takedowns. This looks straight out of John Wick. Look at it, looks amazing, looks good. But this means nothing when you can't provide a highlight for your game. Something that makes your game unique, even from the game that you already made. I mean, look at Rockstar with Red Dead Redemption 2 and GTA 5. Two completely different games when it comes to the way they feel and are played, but are by the same company. But there's a reason to buy either one or the other. But Ubisoft is just the same recycled feel in every single game. That is not having a signature, that is just making it boring. As I said, give your game something unique to make it a game that is more than a 7 out of 10, because you certainly have the money to do that. This is a part of the video where I have to be fair, and so do you. Is Star Wars Outlaws the biggest abomination that Star Wars franchise has ever received from any single piece of media? Fucking no! If the Acolyte didn't make you want to crawl over a carpet of Legos, then I commend you. You are one strong son of a bitch. I couldn't do that. But even if you remove the god-awful, you still remain with the annoying mediocrity that we've been getting used to the past 2015 era. It's already bad that we have remaster after remaster after remaster, but now apparently we can't create new shit. And you know this is bad when video game companies who are responsible, who use what's already good, what's already built and tried, don't even know how to sell their own IP. And despite a 7 out of 10 experience not being objectively that bad, it's kinda shameful for a company this big to not pull off something better with one of the best franchises in the world. That's the reason why it pisses me off so much seeing people defending that, oh, at least it wasn't that bad. Oh, you guys expect everything. It's Ubisoft. They have so much goddamn money, dude. They can clean their asses with money. And they certainly can do better. They just don't want to. That's the annoying part. Rockstar Games has far less employees, yet they can pull off experiences that will be remembered for decades. But Ubisoft, Bethesda, EA, they seem to be stuck in a rut. If we translate this into brain rot, this would be like these video game companies that I just mentioned. They're making TikToks. Consumable media that people forget the next day, maybe actually the next hour. They don't know what the fuck they just watched. Because it's not memorable, there's nothing really unique that separates them, most of them. While you have Rockstar Games, for example, making these crafted, high-quality YouTube video essays, kind of like the one that you're just watching, that will certainly be a piece of content that people will replay and still enjoy it no matter how many times they do it. The same game, they replay the same game, but it always somewhat feels different. These mundane pieces of media can scratch an itch for a while, but I think it's time for us to start asking of these multi-million-dollar companies to give us multi-million-dollar projects. And maybe we need to start moving past these 7 out of 10s, because their budgets are sometimes 11 out of 10. They can do better.